Hello and welcome. We are live at the Guiana Space Centre for the 6th launch of the year. I'm Katie Haswell and this is Mission Control. We are coming up to 14 minutes to lift off. You can see the countdown on the top right-hand side of your screen. We're flying on board Ariane 5 and she's a big and powerful beast. She stands at 54.8 metres tall, weighing in at 780 tonnes and carrying a payload mass of nearly 11 tonnes. That's a lot. Our two passengers are inside, Intelsat 33 in the upper position and Intelsat 36 below. Our mission today is to transfer them to their geotransfer orbit. We have a launch window of 45 minutes to do that. Over now to Stefan Israel.
Arianespace is delighted to welcome an old partner, Intelsat. After the successful launch of Intelsat 29 in January, Intelsat is already back in CSG, and Intelsat decided to book the whole rocket. So thanks to Intelsat for your trust. Tonight we are going to launch two key satellites for our customer, Intelsat 29e, manufactured by Boeing, and Intelsat 36, manufactured by SSL. Boeing and SSL also are two long-lasting partners of Arianespace. I must say that these two satellites are demanding. The overall performance to GTO tonight is 10 ton, 735 kilo, and it is a new record for our Ariane 5 after the one of June. As you can see on the control screen behind me, the launcher is on its pad. It has been transferred yesterday. It is ready for launch. All the operation linked to the final countdown went smoothly. The satellites are ready, the weather is green, so we should be in a position to launch in a few minutes at 6:55. This is the time of the opening of the launch window. Ariane 5 will head to the east. The satellites will be separated on an elliptical orbit inclined at 6 degrees with respect to the equatorial plane. The perigee will be 250 kilometers and the apogee will be 35,880 kilometers. As you know, the liftoff occurs 7 seconds after the H0 at the ignition of the boosters. Intelsat 33e will be separated at H0 plus 29 minutes. Intelsat 36 will be separated at 42 minutes after the H0. So we are now a few minutes from the opening of the launch window. Go Ariane 5, go Intelsat, and all of you enjoy the show. Thank you very much.
Chairman and CEO of Arianespace. The status panels on the right-hand side there, all looking good at this point before launch. A very big welcome to everybody tuning into our webcast tonight, but in particular to everybody at the Intelsat sites across the US and to you folk at MultiChoice in Johannesburg in South Africa. We'll be finding out more about you guys later, but in the meantime, we're delighted that you can join us for this launch. So we have a number of different teams working here in the Mission Control Centre. This is the Programme Director's Desk. Even though we are flying both satellites for Intelsat, each one has its own team, with a Programme Director and a Satellite Mission Director. The Programme Directors are in charge of the contract for Arianespace, and the Satellite Mission Directors are in charge of preparing the satellites for Intelsat. And they confirm when the satellite is ready for launch. And they communicate with the control centres on the ground who effectively fly the satellites. So we're going to find out from them now a little bit more detail about our passengers.
Welcome to Kourou Space Center for this very special launch. For the first time in the long history of Ariane, two Intelsat satellites will be on board the same launch vehicle. This is not the first time that Ariane carries to orbit two spacecraft belonging to the same customer, but it is the first time that it happens for its long-standing customer, Intelsat.
Arianespace and Intelsat have developed a long-standing and fruitful cooperation since the very first contract signed in late 70s. With this launch, a total of 58 satellites will have been orbited by Arianespace for Intelsat.
Intelsat 33 is the second Boeing 702 series spacecraft and the second satellite of the EPIC family to be launched on Ariane after Intelsat 29e in January this year. For this mission, we have allocated our customer an aggregate separated mass, the repartition between the two satellites being Intelsat's choice. Intelsat, Boeing and Arianespace have been working together for more than 30 years, and we are obviously very proud of all the work accomplished over the years.
Intelsat 36 is placed in the lower position. This satellite has been built by Space System Loral, and it's very similar to Intelsat 34, that was launched by Arianespace 1 year ago. This is the fourth time I work for an Intelsat mission, and all the times having Todd Shield, a program manager from Intelsat, and Grant Gould being the launch manager from SSL. It is always a big pleasure to work with them, so I'm looking forward to meeting Todd and Grant again on future contracts.
As good friendships develop. And the satellites are in there now, patiently waiting to start their journey. Got the seatbelts on. So another team in Mission Control is the Flight Control Desk. These guys are Arianespace top management. And if anything happens that's unplanned, these are the folk who take the final decisions. The teams working across the base report directly to them in real time. And a few other key people in Mission Control. The range operations manager here. He shouts out the key events. And we have the beginning here of the synchronized sequence, the last 7 minutes of the countdown. During this time, the computers are running all the checks before launch. They manage an impressive list of operations.
À tous de DDO, arrêt du décompte suite à un rouge, autorisation de lancement. Que tous les moyens restent prêts pour la reprise de la chronologie à H0-7 minutes en cas de retour au vert.
So we have a red status panel. This is perfectly normal. It's a well-rehearsed part of any launch. The system is designed specifically for this. The panel is the authorization to launch panel. And this is, of course, why we have a launch window. Tonight we have a launch window of 45 minutes. So we've stopped the countdown because the synchronized sequence has to run in its entirety in order for the vehicle to launch. It cannot be interrupted. So we have stopped the sequence for the moment. Or well, we haven't actually started it. So we've stopped before the beginning of the sequence while we check the anomaly. And we will have to reset the clock. So we are going to pause our broadcast for the moment, and we will come back to you very shortly.
À tous de DDO, retour au vert des moyens. Attention pour la reprise de la chronologie.
So the safeguarding team have wanted to do some extra checks.
Reprise du temps des comptes. Le nouvel H0 est 22h16 minutes 1 seconde. Je répète, le nouvel H0 est 22h16 minutes 1 seconde.
And over now to our launch campaign.
La The VA232 campaign began on the 9th of July when the different stages arrived in French Guiana. The integration campaign at the bill was nominal, and we were able to transfer on the 4th of August as originally planned.
Intelsat 36, the lower payload, has landed at Félix Éboué Airport on the 25th of July and was transferred immediately to the S5C payload facilities. After mechanical and electrical checks, the spacecraft was transferred to the fueling facilities on the 5th of August. The spacecraft was fueled without anomaly from the 6th to the 9th of August. Intelsat 33 has started propellant filling operation on the 1st of August. Fueling operations were performed without anomaly until the 4th of August. Combined operations with launcher has started for Intelsat 33 on the 6th of August with its flight mating on the payload adapter. Intelsat 33 was transferred to the BAF building on the 8th, hoisted onto the Silda the 9th and encapsulated under the fairing on the 10th of August. For Intelsat 36, combined operations with launcher has started on the 10th of August with its flight mating on the payload adapter. After transfer to the BAF on the 11th, it was hoisted onto the launcher the 12th and encapsulated under Silda and fairing on the 13th of August.
La revue d'attitude au lancement nous a autorisé à transférer le lanceur du BAF en zone de lancement. Le roulage en lui-même dure environ 1 heure. Pendant cette heure, le lanceur et les satellites sont ventilés grâce au GST. Le groupe de servitude TAB suit son convoi. Une fois arrivé en ZL, la table va être posée, ancrée et l'ensemble des raccordements fluides électriques et sur le banc de contrôle vont être faits. Une fois que la configuration sera établie, on pourra procéder à la préparation du lanceur.
So we've restarted the clock. The safeguarding team wanted to do some extra checks. Those have now been performed and we are able to resume the countdown. Safety, of course, is absolutely paramount for Arianespace. So the status panels show us various things. The status of the rocket and the pad, the satellites and the range. The range is the name that we give to the ensemble of all the facilities here at the base, including the tracking stations or the downrange stations, which are along the flight path. This is another control centre here at the base. This is launch control, and these people deal solely with the launcher operations. They're in a protected building made of concrete, often called the bunker, because it's close to the pad. There's about 100 people working in here. They started their preparations some months ago. But right now, their job is to make sure that Ariane is ready for takeoff. They're monitoring events during this synchronized sequence while the computers are running all the final controls. And they have to coordinate an awful lot of checks in a very short space of time. Once all the conditions are correct, the onboard computer can give the order to start the engines. And they were 3 kilometers from that pad. In mission control, we are about 18 kilometers from the pad. And right now we are 2 minutes and 12 seconds to our new scheduled liftoff time. Look at the top third of the launcher. Can you see those orange arms? They're clamping on to the upper stage of the rocket, and they're called the cryogenic arms. They're pumping liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen into the vehicle. It's called cryogenic propellant, and to keep it liquid, it has to be kept at extremely cold temperatures. The hydrogen is at minus 253 degrees Celsius, and the liquid oxygen at minus 110 50 degrees Celsius. That's very cold. So cold, in fact, that the fluids evaporate. So we top up right until the last few seconds, and you'll see them disconnecting 5 seconds before launch.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top, H0 moins 1 minute.
We are live at the Arianespace Center for the launch of Intelsat 33e, built by Boeing, and Intelsat 36, built by Space Systems Loral for the world-leading operator Intelsat. Our best wishes to all the teams as we get close to liftoff. Good luck, everybody.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage du Vulcain. Allumage des EAP, décollage. Les paramètres bord sont normaux. La trajectoire est nominale.
What a sight. Blazing a trail across the equatorial skies, heading east over the Atlantic. We broke the sound barrier after 48 seconds. We are now supersonic.
Les paramètres bord sont normaux, la trajectoire est nominale.
Everything's going according to plan, he's telling us. And the boosters are doing all the work right now. Those two huge rockets on either side of the main stage, they're providing 90% of our thrust, and they're doing exactly what they say on the tin. They are boosting us away from the gravity of the Earth. It takes an awful lot of firepower to do that. They're burning 2 tons of propellant a second each. That's on average what a car uses in a year.
Séparation des étages d'accélération à poudre.
They have burnt their propellant. We don't need them anymore, so we can lose them and jettison them, and we are losing weight. We've lost about 3/4 of our weight in just over 2 minutes. That's the aim of the game. The lighter we are, the faster we go. So we're now burning the main stage, that big tank of cryogenic propellant there. The grey tank is powering us up into the sky. It burns for about 9 minutes. Take a look at the top of the vehicle. On the right-hand side, the pointy nose. That's what we call the fairing. The satellites are inside it, and it's protecting them from the rigours of the launch. Notably, the acoustic vibrations at liftoff. It's very loud. And friction. Because so far we've been travelling through the dense part of the atmosphere, but now we don't need the fairing anymore. because the atmosphere is so thin there's no friction. And you can see how it flexes as it falls.
Paramètres bord sont normaux.
That's called the breathing mode. It's all part of the plan. So the captain has switched off the seatbelt signs and we can see Intelsat 33 for the first time. There it is, the solar panels, those blue sections on the right-hand side you can see. And the round things are the reflectors. On the bottom of the screen, our altitude, 136 kilometers above the Earth. We've gone beyond what's often known as the Kármán line, named after the Hungarian-American aerospace engineer
est nominale.
Theodor von Kármán, who was working in the first half of the century, the last century. And the Kármán line is around about 100 kilometers above sea level. That's about 62 miles. It's often thought of as the border with outer space, and that's because at this altitude the atmosphere is so thin that the air can no longer support flight with wings. So aeroplanes are out, rockets are in. It's where aeronautics ends and astronautics begins.
Paramètres bord sont normaux, le pilotage est calme.
We're looking here at the Galileo tracking station. That's the tracking station at the Arianespace Center. You can see the dot there just above it is our launcher. Intelsat has launched 2 satellites already this year from the Arianespace Center. Intelsat 29e lifted off in January on board an Ariane 5, and Intelsat 31 was launched in May. That's providing media services over Latin America. Our distance in the middle of the bottom of the screen is the distance from the pad. If you were to draw a straight line,
La propulsion est nominale. Il reste 3 minutes de propulsion de l'EPC.
he's telling us that we have 3 minutes of propulsion left on the main stage. So if you were to draw a line from the launch pad to the position of the launcher above our planet, it would be right now a distance of 753 kilometers. And on the bottom right hand of the screen you can see our speed. We're travelling at 4.16 kilometers per second. Per second, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that's extremely fast, and we are going to be going faster. In fact, once you cross the Kármán line, you have to travel at the mind-boggling speed of 18,000 miles per hour.
Paramètres bord sont normaux. La trajectoire est nominale. Il reste 2 minutes de propulsion de l'étage principal cryotechnique.
In order to stay up. He's telling us we've got 2 minutes left now on the main stage propulsion phase. We're looking at CGI images here, computer-generated images. We're pretty well seeing what's happening in space. Basically, the experts calculate a very precise schedule of events based on extremely accurate predictions. They put all of that information into the computer, and the images we see here are a simulation of those predictions.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Natal au Brésil.
So we're picking up the signal now at the Natal tracking station. That's in Brazil. Can you see it there?
Plus qu'1 minute de propulsion de l'EPC.
1 minute left of propulsion on the main stage. And we launch from the equator, the edge of the Amazon rainforest, here at the Arianespace Center. This was 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago. It was a beautiful launch. And we have 3 launches here. a family of 3 bears, if you like Daddy Bear, Mummy Bear and Baby Bear. Ariane 5 is the big heavy lifter. Soyuz is Mummy Bear, the middle-sized lifter. And Vega is the baby of the family, taking our smaller satellites into low Earth orbit. The Vulcan engine is propelling the main stage. It's now switching off.
Séparation de l'étage principal cryotechnique.
We have separation now of the main stage. It's been jettisoned because it's burnt all its propellant.
L'étage supérieur cryotechnique.
And we've switched on the engine of the upper stage. The final stage that is left now of our vehicle. You can see it, the white and grey disc. It's switched its engine on, and this is the beginning of the next phase now in our journey. The upper stage has taken the wheel. It's our taxi driver. Its job is to transport our satellites to their correct orbit so that we can start the process of releasing them. And from there they'll have to travel to their final destination, which is called geostationary orbit, and that's 36,000 kilometers above our planet. Intelsat is one of the world's leading operators, and Arianespace and Intelsat are old friends. Everybody at Arianespace is really delighted to be transporting 2 more satellites for them. Intelsat's Arianespace's largest American customer. They've been working together since 1983. That was with the launch of Intelsat 507. Some of you will remember it. So these teams know each other well. And over 3 decades, Arianespace has delivered half of Intelsat's fleet. Today, we are delivering the 57th and 58th to lift off from the jungle here at the Guiana Space Centre. And they're going to be important members of the fleet.
Thank you for joining us to watch today's launch of Intelsat 36 and our second Intelsat Epic satellite, Intelsat 33e. The missions of these satellites illustrate the dramatic changes taking place in the media and broadband sectors throughout Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Access to affordable broadband connectivity and content distribution is essential for the exchange of data and ideas that support economic growth of individuals, communities, and countries. Intelsat 33e and Intelsat 36 will enable millions of people across 3 continents to have the broadband connectivity they need to drive GDP growth and foster strong communications within and outside their respective communities. It will also help distribute informative and entertaining content to millions of households across sub-Saharan Africa. The first satellite, Intelsat 33e, is the second of our 7 Intelsat Epic satellites. This addition to our high-throughput fleet will extend the benefits of high performance, greater efficiencies, and simplified access to customers in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific. Intelsat 33e, the 65th satellite built for us by Boeing, is in the upper position on today's launch. It features a digital payload connecting 100% of the frequencies on the satellite. The higher performance and greater flexibility of Intelsat 33e will better serve our enterprise, telecom, mobility, and government customers with custom-built satellite solutions to take their applications to the next level. Turning to Intelsat 36, it is located in the lower position of the rocket and continues our decades-long relationship with Africa's leading direct-to-home television provider, MultiChoice. It was built by SSL and is the 52nd SSL satellite flown by Intelsat. SSL delivered our satellite in 24 months, working closely with Intelsat and MultiChoice from the inception of the program. Intelsat 36 will be co-located with Intelsat 20 at 68.5 degrees east a leading hotspot for entertainment in southern Africa and the Indian Ocean region. Intelsat 36 C-band payloads enhances services for other customers at 68.5 degrees east, including many of South Asia's leading content distributors. Together, these two satellites demonstrate Intelsat's commitment to innovation. As the operator of the world's first globalized network, we continue to push boundaries in the sky as well as on the ground to fulfill our mission to create value for our customers and transform quality of life around the world. On behalf of Intelsat's employees, I'd like to express our appreciation to our manufacturers, Boeing and SSL, and to our launch provider, Arianespace, for delivering best-in-class service and ensuring that we remain on schedule. To the Intelsat team, thank you for your dedication and commitment to excellence to benefit our customers. Lastly, thank you to our customers. We value your trust in Intelsat and never take it for granted. It's a pleasure to partner with you and help you achieve your business goals. Most of all, it is rewarding to watch the work we do together enhance the lives of millions of people across the globe. Let's go Intelsat 33e and Intelsat 36.
Our flight path takes us out across the Atlantic, along the equator, across Africa, and we'll start separating the satellites off the east coast of Africa. And ground stations along the flight path are tracking Ariane as she flies over. It's called telemetry. And during that film, we picked up the signal at the tracking station. The tracking station in Ascension Island. It's a volcanic island in the middle of the Atlantic, halfway between South America and Africa. Interestingly, it was a stopping point for commercial airliners during the early days of international air travel. Of course, back in those days, it was difficult to travel all the way across the Atlantic in one go. And NASA had a communications dish there during the space race. And I think I'm right in saying that it was used to track the Apollos. Intelsat 36 is a communications satellite for TV and internet, and it'll mainly serve the South African and Indian Ocean regions. Space Systems Loral built it at their plant in Palo Alto in California. And they designed it to support a company called MultiChoice. MultiChoice is the leading TV and video provider in South Africa.
La trajectoire est nominale, le pilotage est calme.
The trajectory is nominal, normal, and everything's going according to plan. Intelsat 36 is an important satellite for MultiChoice.
Mark, thank you for joining me today to talk about the exciting launch of IS-36. We have a long-standing relationship with MultiChoice, going back some 25 years, back to 1991, when you guys only had a single channel.
It's a pleasure to be here, Brian. And that single channel, MNet, is turning 30 years in November, can you believe it? And it's now grown into several hundred channels across sub-Saharan Africa. And we couldn't have done any of it without Intelsat. So we're really grateful for the partnership we've had to date. We now offer lots of high-quality channels, many more of them, as well as high definition, and our catch-up service, as well as other exciting products.
So Mark, let's talk about this satellite, IS-36. It's a special satellite to both companies. Will be co-located at IS-20 at 68.5 degrees east. Largely seen as one of the premier video neighborhoods across Africa, with significant DTH and media distribution presence. Intelsat 36 presents a significant increase in your capacity. Can you share with us some of your plans around this asset?
So Brian, MultiChoice is seen as one of the leading and most innovative video entertainment companies in Africa, and we're committed to bringing our customers the freshest and best local and international content, delivered across a variety of platforms to consume whenever and wherever they want to.
Mark, our employees are listening to this broadcast across the globe. very proud of the fact that we're supporting MultiChoice with this outstanding long-term relationship that we've had with you. It also carries the C-band payload capacity to serve some of the other regions, like Southern Asia, with some of the content provision that we provide into those regions with these new services. Intelsat 36 also provides resilience to your infrastructure. How does this fit into your overall value chain?
Brian, this satellite will act as a backup to our existing IS-20 satellite, taking some risk out of our business to make sure our customers have their services uninterrupted.
That's brilliant, Mark. Thank you for the confidence that you've placed in Intelsat. So what's next for MultiChoice?
Brian, we continue to grow our business as fast as technology and content will allow. We want to bring people a great viewing experience, the best local and international content, plus box office, catch-up, the best video-on-demand service we can give them in Africa. And we do that together with Intelsat, our long-term partner.
And so do we, Mark. Here's to many new years shared with this great partnership that we've enjoyed with MultiChoice over the years. Mark, all that's left to say is go Intelsat 36.
And during that film, we had the signal acquisition at the tracking station in Libreville. That's on the west coast of Africa. So we've crossed the Atlantic. We have actually a very American launch today. We have 2 satellites built by 2 North American companies, Boeing and Space Systems Loral, for a North American operator, Intelsat. And they've chosen to launch their babies from Europe's Spaceport, which is here in South America. Indeed, Arianespace has a long history of partnership with the US, and this year our Washington office is celebrating its 30th birthday. It opened back in 1986. Congratulations, you guys. A few other numbers for you. After tonight's launch, Arianespace will have lofted 87 satellites for US operators. And we've launched half of all of their geostationary satellites. And in terms of manufacturers, we will have orbited 177 satellites built by American industry. Intelsat 33e was manufactured by Boeing, as we've said, and Arianespace have been working with Boeing for 3 decades. It's Boeing's 52nd bird to lift off from the pad here. So let's find out more now about Intelsat 33e. And as we've been hearing, Intelsat 33e is the
Acquisition de la
second
télémesure lanceur par la station de Malindi au Kenya.
in Intelsat's EPIC series, and Arianespace has launched both of those first two EPIC satellites. So we picked up the signal there at the tracking station in Malindi. That's in Kenya, on the east coast of Africa. So we're crossing Africa and we'll soon start heading out across the Indian Ocean. Our altitude, climbing 490 kilometers above the Earth. We're a little bit higher than the International Space Station. That usually orbits at an average of 400 kilometers high. That's about 248 miles. It circles the globe every 90 minutes at roughly 18,000 miles an hour. That's to stay above the Kármán line, remember? And in one day it travels about the same distance as the Moon and back. So how does Ariane know what to do and when? Well, the upper stage has a brain. It's the intelligent part. It's in the vehicle equipment bay, and it's more than just an onboard computer. It's a whole management system. It analyzes information from the engines, the navigation, etc.
Paramètres bord sont normaux, la trajectoire est nominale.
Telling if everything is going according to plan. And it makes decisions for the best outcome of the mission. And right now it's getting ready to switch off the engine.
Extinction de l'ESC sur commande de guidage.
So we have now switched off the engine on the upper stage of our launcher. And that means that we are on the right path, at the right speed, to start cruising without the engine.
D'orientation au profit d'Intelsat 33e.
We've now entered what we call the ballistic phase. Ballistic means that we're travelling without propulsion. We're effectively on celestial autopilot right now. Now, there's been some great cooperation between the teams.
I would like to thank the many dedicated employees of Boeing, Arianespace, and Guiana Space Center for their invaluable contribution to this project, culminating in today's launch on Ariane 5. As in past programs, and most recently our first EPIC satellite, IS-29E, launched in January, this launch is a testament to the ability of Intelsat, in cooperation with Boeing, Arianespace, and CSG, to come together and execute extremely complex set of operations that require enormous amount of coordination across multitude of disciplines and organizations. For that, we are extremely grateful. After completion of in-orbit testing, IS-33e will replace IS-904 at 60 degrees east. It will provide extremely high-quality communication services to our customers starting in November. In closing, once again, our thanks to Boeing, Arianespace, and Guiana Space Center for making what was just an idea mere 3.5 years ago into a reality today.
And a lot of people have worked extremely hard in those 3.5
de la manœuvre
years.
d'orientation au profit d'Intelsat 33e.
We are in what we often call the space ballet phase. Once we release our satellite, it has to travel to its final orbital slot. That's geostationary orbit, 36,000 kilometers above Earth. And in order for it to do that, we have to put it into the right attitude for its journey. So right now, we are orientating the upper stage so that it can release the satellite onto its correct orbit. It's an extremely precise set of maneuvers. We're getting closer now to that injection point. We call it the injection point because we effectively inject it into space. We're still climbing and we need to get to an altitude of 1,225 kilometers above Earth. So keep your eye on the altitude on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. That's our separation altitude.
Séparation du satellite Intelsat 33e.
And we are there. We have separated Intelsat 33e, released it into space. Huge congratulations to the Intelsat 33e teams and to Boeing. Well done, everybody. There it goes. Moving away from the mothership.
Début de la manœuvre d'orientation au profit du système de lancement double Ariane.
Intelsat 33e is now heading out on its own journey to its orbital slot, and the work is just beginning for the Intelsat teams, who will be concentrating hard as they monitor the first maneuvers. But we still have Intelsat 36 attached, and it's underneath the black structure there. We call that the cylinder. For the French speakers amongst us, that means the Système de Lancement Double Ariane, the double launch system for Ariane. It's like a small fairing. It protects the satellite in the lower position, but it also provides the attachment mechanism for the satellite in the upper position. So it was attaching IS-33e. And this is what
Séparation du système de lancement double Ariane.
Makes dual launches possible on Ariane 5. It's now separating and moving away. Now all these maneuvers are extremely carefully planned to make sure that none of the parts bump into each other as they're separated. It's called collision avoidance. So look at the right-hand side of your screen. You can see Intelsat 36 for the first time. There it is. It's smaller than Intelsat 33. It's about 3.3 tons. It's roughly half the size or half the mass. Built by Space Systems L'Oréal on their 1300 bus. Climbing in altitude, we are coming up to 12,000 kilometers from the launch pad. And then we can just see in the corner of the screen on the left, Intelsat 33e heading off on its journey. Africa.
Manœuvre d'orientation au profit Intelsat 36.
Still performing our orientation maneuvers. We're heading out now across the Indian Ocean. I think we might be flying over the Seychelles. We lifted off from the equator 35 minutes ago and 16 seconds. That's on the edge of the Amazon rainforest, the Guyana Space Center. And there are some advantages of launching from the equator. It's the fastest route to geostationary orbit. If you think about it, because of the natural rotation of the Earth, we're actually already effectively moving in the right direction, even when we're on the pad. So it gives us additional speed at the equator. That's when we're launching to the east, of course. So let's just take a look at our speed and altitude here. Our altitude at the moment, we are 2,818 kilometers. We need to climb to an altitude of 4,225 270 kilometers in order to inject our next satellite. Now, the teams receiving the information from the tracking stations are here at the Guiana Space Center. This is the telemetry station here, or the CVI, real-time visual control. They receive the information, make a quick selection to check how the flight is progressing in real time, and they can then analyze the information later to see how the vehicle performed, make adjustments for future flights. It's called the Level 0 Flight Evaluation, and that takes place several weeks after the launch. Right now they are focusing hard as we get closer to separation of our second satellite. Good Intelsat poster flag there. I mentioned earlier that Arianespace has a long history with North American companies, and the order book for the US is looking good. In terms of geostationary satellites, Arianespace has 7 launches planned for American operators and 18 satellites manufactured in the US. And for satellites closer to Earth, we've been contracted to launch hundreds of smaller communications satellites for various operators, including OneWeb. And we shall be lofting those in batches. For science, Arianespace has been chosen to launch the James Webb Space Telescope. And Arianespace is working alongside NASA, the European Space Agency, and the CSA on that. James Webb is planned to fly on an Ariane 5 at the end of 2018. So we've got lots of really exciting launches to come. Coming closer to the separation of Intelsat 36, climbing in altitude there. Once it's released, it's going to travel to its orbital slot at 68.5 degrees east. There's been some great teamwork on the Intelsat 36 teams.
This program kicked off less than 2 years ago and serves as an example of the efficient and effective partnership we have with our partners. The payload capability packed into Intelsat 36, which was delivered and integrated on Ariane 5 on such a tight schedule, represents a tremendous value for our customers and Intelsat. This could not have been done without the determined and dedicated individuals we have come to rely on through the years. So for that, I personally thank all of you. Once orbit raising and in-orbit testing are completed, Intelsat 36 will go on to be co-located with Intelsat 20 and begin service to our customers by the 1st of October. As always, I would like to thank SSLNDA, Arianespace, CSG, and our friends at Freelance.
So our speed at the moment, we are 7.25 kilometers per second. We have dropped our speed slightly. Don't forget, we are traveling now without our engine. But we are climbing in altitude, getting closer and closer to our injection point, nearly 4,000 kilometers high. And we've traveled over 14,000 kilometers in a straight line across the Earth. It always amazes me when we look at these images because it looks as if everything's happening incredibly slowly. But of course, the reality is it's happening at phenomenal speeds. We are hurtling through space at 7 kilometers per second. I suppose that's because on Earth there are always objects around, buildings, trees, so we get a sense of relativity, but in space there's nothing for us to compare with. But of course, it's that speed which allows us to effectively slingshot our satellites onto their orbits. Just imagine if you were to sling a stone fast enough, it would basically keep going instead of falling back down to Earth. So we need to get to an altitude of 4,270 kilometers. A word about separation. We have a set of springs, compressed springs.
Séparation du satellite Intelsat 36.
And we have separation of Intelsat 36. Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations to Intelsat, Space Systems Loral, and to MultiChoice. It's been a great campaign. Well done, everybody. And there it goes. Pinging into space, just like a jack-in-a-box. Coming out of its box when you release the springs, boing, it goes. So this is the 73rd success in a row for Arianespace, and there's some very happy faces there in the Jupiter Mission Control Center. Teams who have worked together over a long period of time, very closely. Everyone looking very happy. A great feeling of a job well done. Culmination of many months' work for some, and many years for others. People work incredibly hard during a campaign, and it's very intense. So these guys and girls will be wanting to relax now. Although for some, it's a quick turnaround for the next campaign. Because, of course, the launch rate here at the Guiana Space Center is good. So let's have a think about the teams on the ground. Thinking about you guys and girls now taking on the job of flying your satellites, the control centers, going through all kinds of procedures now to make sure that the satellites are doing what they're supposed to be doing up there in space.
So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Arianespace is delighted to announce that Intelsat 33e and Intelsat 36 have been separated as planned on the targeted standard geostationary transfer orbit. We have had an unexpected event a few minutes before the beginning of the synchronized sequence. I'm not authorized to say more about that. I have seen some tweets from journalists which seems to be well informed, but we had the feeling that it would be easy tonight, and it has been easy tonight. So for the fourth time this year, we have had a flawless mission for Ariane 5, and it is the 73rd success in a row of this rocket. Tonight, after the success of Intelsat 29 on January, Intelsat has entrusted 2 of its satellites to Arianespace for a single mission. This betokens a profound confidence in the reliability and flexibility of the Ariane 5 launcher. With this flight, Arianespace will have orbited 58 Intelsat satellites since 1983, representing 50% of all Intelsat satellites in operation today. Our partnership will be further enhanced next year with the launch of 2 satellites, 32E and 37E. So for this long-lasting partnership, I would like to express my profound gratitude to Intelsat CEO Steven Spengler. I know he's in Washington, D.C., looking at this launch with his team, customers, partner, and as well here in CSG to Mike DeMarco and Ken Lee. Ken Lee has just come back from the fishbowl, who are with us tonight. It's okay, Ken? You feel comfortable? Okay. Tonight, our happiness is dampened by the tragic loss 3 weeks ago of a dear friend and colleague, Intelsat spacecraft program manager Brian Singh. Brian suddenly passed away the day he was scheduled to come to French Guiana to support the launches of the 2 Intelsat satellites. Brian was highly respected and appreciated by everybody who had the good fortune to work with him. His absence will be deeply felt. In a few minutes after Ken's intervention, we will listen to some words of Steve to pay tribute to Brian. But on behalf of all Arianespace team, I would like to dedicate this launch to Brian and to his memory. Also, our long-lasting partner, Boeing Space Systems, is the manufacturer of Intelsat 33e, the second satellite of the new EPIC NG series, launched by Arianespace. It is the 52nd Boeing satellite orbited by Arianespace since 1987. We have 4 more Boeing satellites in our backlog, and we plan to give them the same successful treatment. I would like to congratulate as well Space Systems Loral, who built Intelsat 36, with now 54 SSL satellites orbited since 1983 with Arianespace, and 4 more currently in our backlog. We have accomplished much, and we will continue to do so together. So to Craig Cooning, Boeing Space System CEO, and to John Selly, SSL CEO, who are attending this launch from the US, to all the Boeing and SSL teams, Arianespace give its best wishes. Intelsat, Boeing, SSL, tonight's launch have a strong American flavor. Indeed, with this flight, Arianespace has launched a total of 87 satellites for US operators and 177 satellites manufactured in the US since 1980. It is not by chance. Arianespace has deep roots in the US. We celebrate this year the 30th anniversary of our Washington office, whose team, Clay Maury, Winner Carnissan, Aaron Lewis, Yasmin Almond, is absolutely outstanding. And I would like to thank all the team of the Washington office. Ariane 5, tonight's vehicle, was the 87th of the series. But the very first launch since our prime and first shareholder, Airbus Safran Launchers, became fully operational on July the 1st. I would like to thank Airbus Safran Launchers and all the European industry for contributing more than ever to Arianespace successes. Many thanks as well to our institutions and agencies, ESA for sure, and all the member states of the Ariane program, whose support is crucial for our future. CNES, both the qualification authority for Ariane 5 and our daily partner here in CSG. In a few days, we expect the full confirmation of Ariane 6 program at the ESA Council. It will be September the 13th. The final countdown has started. Of course, I say bravo to all my Arianespace colleagues for this latest success, the 6th of the year. We have now 5 more launches to perform by year-end, so we will be very busy in the coming months, but it's always better to be busy. So I would now like to welcome to the stage our customers and partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's great to be here and share this event with you. Ariane has a reputation for delivering, and today they deliver not 1, but 2 of our satellites successfully into orbit. We truly appreciate our partnership and the fact that we marked another flawless mission together. Thank you, Arianespace. I would like to also recognize our manufacturing partners, Boeing and Space Systems Loral, both of whom have worked closely with Intelsat for decades. Boeing began our epic journey with us in 2012, and it is great to have Intelsat 33e, the second of the epic satellites, launched and on its way. Space Systems Loral has long been a trusted and reliable partner and a friend. They certainly didn't disappoint as they built Intelsat 36 for us in remarkable 24 months. These two satellites will bring important services to customers and their end users across Africa, Europe, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. Intelsat 33e will bring higher performing and more cost-effective broadband infrastructure to our customers. That's because our EPIC provides higher performance, better economics, and simple access that enable the development of new high-growth applications. These applications will create new revenue streams for our customers and provide high-quality and affordable broadband on land, sea, and air. Intelsat 36 will enhance our video neighborhood at 68.5 degrees east, strengthening our media distribution for our customers in South Asian cable communities, and in particular, over sub-Saharan Africa for our long-standing customer MultiChoice. Our partnership with MultiChoice goes back decades for when they had a single channel. We are humbled to have been partners with them as they have grown into one of the leading direct-to-home provider in Africa. And soon, IS-36 will enable MultiChoice to deliver even more differentiated services to their customers. More importantly, it will enable MultiChoice to accelerate the transition from analog to digital terrestrial television across South Africa, providing more high-quality, engaging educational and entertaining content to families. Access to affordable broadband connectivity and high-quality content is essential to exchanging of data and ideas that support economic growth of individuals, communities, and countries. The launch of these two satellites today will enable our customers to deliver services that will enrich lives of communities across Africa, Europe, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. Joining us here today are some of our customers: DRS Technologies, Etisalat, Gilat, Liquid Telecom, Marlink, MultiChoice, OmniAccess, Orange, Romantis, Centec, and Supernet. Thank you for your partnerships, your support, and your vision in using Intelsat's globalized network to achieve your business objectives. Congratulations again to the teams, and thank you for another successful launch. Thank you.
Earlier this month, Intelsat and the satellite industry lost one of its most enthusiastic and well-known professionals, Brian Singh. At the time of his sudden passing, Brian was a senior program manager of the Intelsat 33e satellite. Brian was the expert on Intelsat's launch vehicles. He was a dedicated engineer whose tireless work ensured that our launch vehicles are of the highest quality. He made significant contributions to the launcher sector that resulted in improved quality of launch vehicles, benefiting not only Intelsat, but also other satellite operators. Brian enjoyed the respect of everyone with whom he worked, from Intelsat to our partners in the entire sector. His intellect, experience, and warm personality will be missed by all of us who knew him as a colleague and a friend. Please join with us as we celebrate Brian's contributions to Intelsat and the satellite sector.
What an amazing liftoff. I am honored to have been here to witness it. To think this is Arianespace's 52nd launch of a satellite built by Boeing and our heritage companies. What a history. Boeing and our customer Intelsat also have a long-standing history. Our relationship has lasted more than 5 decades, from the time of early bird, which began in 1965. Today, that heritage, that history, is helping Intelsat and Boeing make strides into the future. And that future includes the most advanced digital payload technology in the world. Intelsat 33 is the second commercial satellite to carry a Boeing digital payload, the first of which was IS-29E, which launched on January 27th of this year, also on an Ariane 5 rocket. And Boeing is now developing a next-generation digital payload. Bill Boeing once said, "Build something better." Well, the manufacturing of the Intelsat 33 satellite has benefited from this desire to build something better. At Boeing, we are continuously adopting innovative manufacturing processes to improve our products and our capabilities. For example, we are including metallic 3D printed parts qualified for space on the 702 MP, or medium power, satellites. These 3D printed parts help reduce the number of machine parts, which helps make assembly easier, faster, and more cost-effective. Since liftoff, Intelsat 33E has begun heading to its final orbit. Once it enters service, it will join Intelsat's satellite constellation, where it will meet broadband demand for carrier-grade telecom services, enterprise networks, aeronautical connectivity, and certain media services. The Boeing team is proud to be part of that mission. We are here, after all, for our customer, Intelsat, to provide Intelsat with a state-of-the-art satellite with industry-leading capabilities. Thank you to the teams at Arianespace and Intelsat who have helped make today's launch of Intelsat 33E a success. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to my teammates back in El Segundo from the Boeing Satellite Development Center for their continued sacrifice and dedication of both them and the families that support them. Without that, this wouldn't have been possible. Thank you very much.
Good evening. What an honor to be here. This is the first time I'm witnessing an Ariane launch. I was here last time. Last year we came. We launched Intelsat 34. This year we came, launched Intelsat 36. Next year we will come to launch Intelsat 38. I'd like to thank Ariane for their outstanding performance. And we just acquired the satellite, and I was told that the telemetry is doing well, the satellite is healthy. I really appreciate the hospitality Arianespace provided to us, and an excellent job done. Intelsat, thank you again for the trust. And we did it in 24 months. You asked us a couple of months ago to do it. We did it. And we'll do the 38 also on time. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. Bye.
So again, congratulations to all for this outstanding success. We will be back on September 15th with our lightweight vehicle, Vega, which will perform a multiple launch for 2 new Arianespace customers. It will place on 2 sun-synchronous circular orbits the Earth observation satellites PeruSat for Airbus Defence and Space. And I must say that we have 2 key people of Airbus Defence and Space in repérage tonight with us, Dirk Hauke and Nicolas Chamussy. And also, alongside with PeruSat, we will have satellites for Terabella. Donc, mesdames et messieurs, merci beaucoup d'avoir partagé ces moments avec nous.
Thank you very much for being all of you here, and I hope you have a very enjoyable evening.
Stefan Israel there, the CEO and chairman of Arianespace, finishing those speeches from the various participants in today's beautiful launch. Congratulations to everybody involved and to all of the teams. Here from the Mission Control Center at the Guyana Space Center, the Spaceport, Europe's spaceport on the edge of the Amazon rainforest, on the equator. Mission accomplished once again for Arianespace and the 6th launch this year from the Space Center. And congratulations to all of the teams and most of all Ariane's customer, Intelsat. To Boeing, to Space Systems Loral, Intelsat 33 and Intelsat 36 are now heading out on their journey to their final orbit. Best of luck to all the teams on the ground now with the next phase of your operations. Very many thanks to you, our audience, for joining us here live from the launch pad at the Guyana Space Center. Goodbye.